want to share with you a little known fun fact about the non-Chalcedonians. Did you know that they're split on issues as basic as Theosis and the Eucharist? Pope Shenouda III, who's soon to be a saint in the Coptic communion, calls Theosis the heresy of deifying the human. He identifies this heresy as the belief that we can participate in God's divine nature. He then goes on to say that in the Eucharist we don't participate in Christ's divinity. Non-Chalcedonians, let me know, do you agree or disagree with Pope Shenouda III?
Hello everyone. Today we're going to be responding to our good friend Cleave to Antiquity. He has recently been talking about the Oriental Orthodox Church a little bit too much. So before responding, I thought it fitting to offer Cleave to have a debate or a discussion. I know what he's already thinking. He's already thinking about how he's still a catechumen, therefore he's not allowed to debate. But he should have reminded himself of these things before he started to spew nonsense about the church. It seems like a convenient excuse to lie without responsibility. That's fine, you can wait until you're baptized. I won't forget my offer. You will be reminded. With that aside, let's respond. The first half of the video erroneously claims that Pope Shenouda denied the teaching of Theosis. For those who don't know, Theosis is the idea that emphasizes our holiness is a gradual transformation into becoming like God or becoming God. Pope Shenouda did not deny this teaching. He only qualified it. He denied heretical articulations of it known as apotheosis. Let's hear Pope Shenouda's own words.
كلمة عبارة ما يرد في كلام أثناسيوس الرسول عن تأليه الإنسان ويؤلهه وحاجات زي دي برضو عن إعادة الصورة الأصلية. كل ما يرد في أقوال الآباء عن كلمة يؤله وحاجات زي دي عن إرجاع الصورة الإلهية، لا تزيد عن كده. عشان كده يقول لك يجدده ويؤلهه يعني يجعله له الصورة الإلهية القديمة. أرجوك سيدنا أن تفسر لي معنى هذه العبارة صار الله إنسانا لكي يصير الإنسان إلها، وخصوصا إن كان قد قالها أحد الآباء، وحينئذ ما معنى شركاء الطبيعة الإلهية؟ لما الآباء يقولوا صار الله إنسانا لكي يصير الإنسان إلها، لكي نفهم هذه العبارة لابد أن نعرف ما هو المقصود بكلمة إلها. فيبقى إيه المقصود بكلمة إله؟ يعني مثلا من صفات الألوهية القدرة على الخلق. فهل مثلا يصير الإنسان إلها يعني عنده القدرة على الخلق؟ إذن كلمة يصير إلها لها أحد معنيين إذا صح هذا التعبير. يعني التعبير الأول أن يكون صورة لله ومثال له، والتعبير الثاني مثلما قال الله لموسى النبي جعلتك إلها لفرعون. هنا مش إله يعني خالق، يعني سيد. أيها الأبناء الأحباء أنكم في الأمور اللاهوتية تفهمون معنى الألفاظ بدقة. الحرف يقتل. أما واحد يجي لك ويرص لك أقوال من الآباء أو يجيب لك آيات قول له سيبك من الكلام ده كله، خلينا نفهم ما معنى كلمة إله. تقصد إيه بإله؟ تقصد أنك غير محدود، أصبحت غير محدود وأنت قاعد في الحتة دي، في حد على جنبك من هنا وحد على جنبك من هنا، ومحدود في الملابس اللي لابسها، ما بتخرجش خارج هدومك. يعني إيه إله؟ أنت غير محدود؟ أنت قادر على كل شيء؟ طب اخلق لي عصفورة ولو كتكوت حتى. يعني كلمة، أما الألفاظ والكلام والاقتباسات كلها مجرد محاورات فكرية، ولكن خش في الناحية العملية تلاقي كلمة إله ليس معناها إله. صار الله إنسانا لكي يصير الإنسان إلها، أي لكي يصير الإنسان على شبه الله، على مثال الله، لكي يعود الإنسان إلى الصورة الإلهية التي خلق بها في شبه الله من القداسة والبر والصفات الروحانية إلى آخره. لكن مش إله يعني قادر على كل شيء، مش إله يعني خالق، مش إله يعني لا يموت، مش إله يعني قدوس الله قدوس القوي قدوس الحي الذي لا يموت. فأنت القوي والحي الذي لا يموت وأنت القدوس. رأيي إن أصحاب هذا الكلام يتواضعون بعض الشيء.
As you can see, what Pope Shenouda denied is a system of deification that refers to us having the essential incommunicable properties of God. Otherwise, Pope Shenouda is completely okay with articulations of the deification of man. This is exactly the patristic opinion. Athanasius says a mutable thing cannot be like God, who is truly unchangeable, any more than what is created can be like its creator. That is why, with regard to us, the holy man said, Lord, who shall be likened unto you? St. Athanasius says our becoming like God is in a limited degree. St. Gregory the theologian says it is as far as man's nature can attain. St. Basil says it is done as far as possible with our nature. Most importantly, Pope Shenouda himself said our deification is as much as man's nature can bear. As regards what Cleave has to say about Pope Shenouda's denying participation of divinity in the Eucharist, It's important to know the very text you had on screen is about Pope Shenouda denying sharing in the divinity in the Eucharist. Pope Shenouda himself says, "He also that eats me, he too shall live. But we eat, not consuming the Godhead. Away with the folly. Because perhaps it has not been feasible that the nature of the Godhead too should be consumed along with the flesh, because we are not in possession of impossibilities. It is by no means the nature of the Godhead that lies upon the holy tables of the churches. One might very reasonably object to him that he, in giving his body, did not rather say, 'Take, eat, this is my Godhead, which is broken for you.'" I was just joking. I just cited St. Cyril of Alexandria. St. Cyril also says in another place, "The divinity is not to be eaten or drunk. The divine mysteries in the sacrament of the Eucharist are not given us that we may partake of the divinity, God forbid." No, just kidding. That was actually Pope Shenouda this time. Going back to the discussion of theosis, just because Pope Shenouda denies whatever Hindu abomination it is you think is theosis, it doesn't mean he rejects the patristic teaching of deification. What he rejects is, as your own saints say, those who choose the pure and undefiled life of the gospel become living images of Christ, or rather, become identical to him through grace, rather than being a mere simulacrum, or even perhaps become the Lord himself if such an idea is not too onerous for some to bear. Just because your saints define this as theosis, doesn't mean in rejecting this we reject the patristic understanding of theosis. The early fathers did not espouse this Hindu apotheosis. You guys know about Melchizedek? St. Paul says he's without beginning of days nor end of life. He has no father, no mother, nor genealogy. We all know what this is talking about in the context of the Epistle of Hebrews. It's talking about how the historical figure of Melchizedek never had a genealogy to distinguish him from the Aaronic bodily descent that was there under the Old Covenant, how the priesthood was passed under the Old Covenant from the loins of Aaron. Everyone knows this is the interpretation. But you guys want to know what Cleave to Antiquity saints say is the interpretation? That he was literally unoriginate because of divine grace. Gregory Palamas says this in the third letter to Akindinos, and Maximus, the so-called confessor, says this in his Ambiguum. Sophrony of Essex says, "Men can become omnipresent, omniscient, without beginning, and pure actuality." Gregory Palamas says we can even become uncreated. We all know this is explicitly denied by people like St. Irenaeus of Lyon, a 2nd century church father. Hopefully Cleave can respond to my offer to have a discussion, because it's very clear they're grasping at straws in order to find any argument with the Oriental Orthodox Church. Cleave knows that our church produces wondrous saints who are in line with the fathers, which is why he called Pope Shenouda a soon-to-be saint. Let's see what's going on in your Church of Alexandria. Cleave is making the point, our church cannot deal with basic doctrines like theosis and the Eucharist. Your church can't discern basic doctrines like whether Islam is true, like your own Patriarch of Alexandria has called Muhammad an apostle, or other patriarchs of yours being highly ecumenist, saying the days of dogma are over and you can find truth in all religions. Maybe you should have learned your lesson when Deacon Mehret told you to worry about your own church. But then again, your church hasn't dealt with the simple topic of who even is a part of your church. As always, God bless.